Hello, and welcome back to this European series, which I still do not have a name for, so please give suggestions in the comments. This is the second episode, so if you haven't seen the first one, sure, go check it out now. But in this one, I have some pretty interesting ideas. So yeah, here's the city as it stands currently. We've got an old town, we've got a river which I don't know what to do with it, to be honest. Actually, these backs should probably go all the way to the waterfront. And yeah, I should probably fix a lot of this. However, yeah, you can probably see this other side is looking a bit bare, and that's what I want to work on. Now, as I've probably emphasized too many times already, this city is not Prague, even though it has a lot of similarities. So I've taken a bit of inspiration from places like Budapest, and we're going to make some city blocks and some custom buildings like that one. So I've already started on this one, but as you can see, it's not connected up. So let's do that. I'm split between using these quite thin roads. Also, as much as it would be quite perfect looking, we're not going to do perfectly straight roads either. Would that be too big of a block? Yeah. Let's do it like that, and then we can have a really unique thing going on there. I'm split between using thin roads, because obviously this would be a pre-car neighborhood, or instead using these parking roads instead. Because if you look around Google Maps, you'll see, same with Prague, same with like Vienna, a lot of Central European cities really have a lot of parking on the streets in kind of this configuration. If I could get it, if anything, to be thin and have parking, I might use Road Builder, but let's set out the grid first. Something that I tried to do, I don't think it kind of ever makes sense unless you're literally trying to do a échample. I don't think you should kind of ever do a perfect grid. So I think that's a nice start. So let's get building. So to start off, I've been using these German and Eastern European pack buildings. I think these buildings are 100% the best for making like city blocks. Although the German ones have red roofs, but in this instance I want the city to have red roofs, so it kind of works. Yeah, so I'm doing thin lot widths and making sure to get backyards, not backyards, but like courtyards. But for now, I'll hop back into real time. So we've ended up with this street here, which I'm kinda imagining like Andrassy Avenue in Budapest. And something interesting about that street is how it starts off really thin. Well, not really thin. It starts off as an avenue, and then it becomes like a big avenue. It ends up having two smaller roads on the side, which, not even that, I just don't think we have enough space to make it realistic. I would have it like this, and then this. I wonder if this would be functional. Hold on, let's see. There seems to also be a ton of demand for parking in the city. If this is functional, this is best case scenario, but I don't think it will be. So, the car parks in these streets are getting pretty full, and as you can see, yeah, they're being used quite a lot. Although, to be honest, this does actually look really strange, so I might change the road again. What I want to do, I want it to basically be like a proper boulevard, but I worry that having an extra road there might be a bit... It's probably going to be a bit too wide at that point, surely. So, I have extended this out. I think I actually will be able to make this work, and especially, for example, whenever there's one of these weird node things, I could probably just extend a road. But you might notice that my game is looking a bit different. And yeah, it's just updated, and we've got these really interesting cliffs. I wonder if I can change the time on this. This is really making me... Well, it looks better in shadow, to be honest. This is making me want to build some sort of fortress here. And for once, I actually won't be directly copying Prague, because Prague's would be somewhere up there. So we might... I'd love some inspiration. I want to look at the Steam Workshop before I do anything there. Yeah, this is making me see the mountains in the background are a bit more realistic, I guess. Wow. But back to the road, you might notice that the pavements here are a bit thicker, and that's because this is kind of the setup that I want for a tram stop. So, just like the previous episode, I think this new district here would be pretty good for a tram. What I want these trams in the city to become, I think we will do a metro, but before that, I want there to be a basically pretty ridiculously extensive tram system. With a bunch of quirks, like this strange turn there. So let's link this up. And so, with that, I think we have our first tram crossing a bridge in the entire city. There it is. Oh, I should probably fix this road. Okay. So I wonder... Wow, okay. This is being used a lot. Wow. So, I have finished our 9 blocks. I think, yeah, it does look good, you'd have to admit. I think maybe I might have overdone it on some of the courtyards. I'll use this grass to put up a reference. I think this size of courtyard would actually be the most accurate compared to... Yeah, some of this might be a bit too dense, but to be honest, obviously this isn't Budapest, so we can do what we want. Using this path, I'm kind of marking out where I want the end of Blockland to be. I think this will be similar to... I don't know what the square is called. I'll show a reference. I'm doing so much for editing me. There we go. And I think this is how far I want it to go. I think here, I think we could do an urban highway using this river. And I don't think it would look too ridiculous. Let me... Essentially, the highway would go along there, because it's not like you could put anything else in that space. Although I don't think it should be too much higher than the river itself. So if I lower that down... There. I think... I don't know, I think that is the idea. And speaking of road infrastructure, I've set up this quay. This is literally just ripped off Budapest. It might be a bit strange to have kind of these river islands on one side and then this quay on the other, but I think the story is that this is the old part of the city where things grew manically. There was no central decision, and then this side must be one of those planned city areas. What I want to do is add a tram along this quay, however. Yeah, actually, I do prefer it on the quay side. That's a lot of copies. As for this bottom one, I don't think it does support trams whatsoever. No. So, and then what I want is to have a tram tunnel under here and have a tiny underground stop. Like that. I have completed it. It's a bit of a off color. I might want to actually change the color if anything. You could probably, well, you might not be able to. I've used some pergola parts to make these walls because platforms that I tried to use before, let's not look from that angle. The platforms were a bit too thick, so I think these might be the only things that I can use. Oh, a bit of a side topic, but I found that if you're ever trying to string a surface on a bridge, because the surfaces which go above networks are able to go on, well, they do go on bridges, which can sometimes be really inconvenient. But if you do it in a very small, if you do it in a polygon with only 4 sides, I think it actually works most of the time. Let me change this one. And yeah, I think the way it works is that if you only do 4 sides, then it will work because there's less triangles. And I've just missed the tram. So it does fit. It's more of a cover, so then you don't actually see what's going on. Okay, I've waited a long time for this. Yeah, so it comes up completely fine. Now, so obviously I could probably build this out, these blocks out, until this path. However, I think what would kind of be better now, I want to fill in this district. I don't have a name for any of the districts, so I've just named them numbers, which I think happens quite a lot in Central Europe. But yeah, if you could, I'd be happy to take some district names. This one is going to be a bit of a business center. Obviously it's not going to be skyscrapers, but we're going to use some of the French pack buildings, which do kind of look like renovated buildings. So yeah, I'm going to get into it. So I've actually completed, for the most part, this square. I was looking over the city skyline, but there's only one church, there's only one spire. We've got this building, which I kind of took some inspiration from Astoria in Budapest. Not very much, evidently, but yeah, we've only got one church. So what I want to do is add another church in. Now, I've done what I'm about to do before. I'll link the short. I never made a series or video about it, but I made a short once with it in. And it was basically a very messy, but kind of convincing way of making a more Eastern Orthodox looking church. Okay, so I've actually done a lot. Well, it isn't that much. I've just kind of changed up everything. And I'll put up the reference now. So let's see how having multiple... Yeah, I think this might actually work. So I've finished these blocks. Yeah, I've used static ploppables for a couple of these because I've realized if we're gonna be making more districts like this, I'm gonna need to pack as many jobs in this area And as part of a good sign, we actually now, after doing so, have about 1,000 free jobs. 1,000 extra jobs to spare. I want that to be above 1,000. Obviously, this probably should be like 15,000, but there is a limit to the game. I could probably put one in here as well. And yeah, with that, I think, yeah, let's do some closing shots.